Hey everybody, it's Jason with Parallel Reality coming back with you here today with an article from The Federalist. This is dated June 11th. And are you guys as sick as I am of, as it says here, the unequal application of the law in America today? So let's go through this. As it says, unequal application of the law in America today isn't hypocrisy, it's hierarchy. And we'll see what they mean right now. It says institutional power in America today is concentrated on the left. They want you to know it and act accordingly. Yeah, and as I'm recording this, it just came out that Merrick Garland was held in contempt of Congress, and his Department of Justice has decided that he hasn't done anything wrong, and he won't be putting himself under arrest or whatever, or he won't be investigated, whatever it is. But it's like, what they always say about police departments is or the FBI or something like that. Like the FBI investigated the FBI and determined the FBI didn't do anything wrong. That's basically what happened here, except substitute FBI with Merrick Garland. As over the weekend, thousands of pro-Hamas protesters, many of them masked and some wearing green Hamas headbands, descended on Washington, D.C., surrounding the White House amid chants calling for a victory of jihad or martyrdom. At one point, protesters with tents set up an encampment on the ellipse, while others defaced and vandalized historic statues, including the Andrew Jackson and Marquis de Lafayette statues in Lafayette Square. And I don't know what the ellipse is. I'm not hugely familiar with Washington, D.C. The last time I was there was on my 7th grade field trip, or 8th grade field trip. I'm sorry. 7th grade was to Springfield, Illinois. That's our capital city. It's not Chicago. But 8th grade was Washington, D.C., and that was over 3 decades ago, so it's been a little bit. Because at one point, protesters screaming, "F the police and kill yourselves," chased U.S. Park Police and Secret Service out of the square after officers tried to arrest someone, after which the square was completely controlled by the protesters. No arrests were made. Well, it seems like a ripe situation to, actually call in people to help you arrest those folks, but that's just me, I guess. It says the day before, on the other side of the country, 3 teenagers in Spokane, Washington, were arrested on felony charges for driving their scooters over a painted pride crosswalk and leaving some tread marks on the mural. Yeah, this is stupid. Okay, if you don't want your religious flag, which is what that flag has become, to get defaced, then maybe don't put it somewhere. It's essentially guaranteed. Not essentially, it's guaranteed. There's a 100% guarantee that it's going to be defaced, okay? And these are just kids and friggin' felony charges. Are you serious about this? You painted something on the street. Of course people are going to go over it, and you're going to charge them with a felony? Really? That's just how stupid our country has become, that's a felony. It shouldn't even, there should be no charge at all. It's just, what are you going to do with people? What if there's somebody that, speeds out of there or something, just doesn't even consider the flag? You're gonna arrest them too? It's so stupid. But our country has a religion, and that's what it is, and one of their symbols was defaced. So what needs to happen is, as tempting as it is to call out the hypocrisy here, teenagers hunted down and charged for defacing a pride mural. No punishment at all for a mob of left-wing protesters defacing national monuments. That would miss the point. This isn't hypocrisy on display, it's hierarchy. It says, when you see harsh punishments for those who dissent from the regime on the one hand, but total leniency and tacit regime endorsement for those who are essentially regime enforcers on the other hand, what you're seeing is a display of power. Its purpose is to communicate to the rest of the country who has power and who doesn't, who is protected and who isn't. That's kind of a frightening thought, isn't it? If you're not on their side, it's just nothing's going to, you can't do anything. They're just going to be the ones to do something to you, and nothing you can do about it. So you see this everywhere lately. Most dramatically, you see it in the lawfare against former President Donald Trump, recently convicted for invented crimes in a farcical trial that had made a mockery of the rule of law. Trump's conviction in New York has made it clear, to friend and foe alike, that the judiciary in certain parts of this country has become nothing more than an instrument to destroy the political enemies of the regime. This isn't supposed to be a subtle message. You're meant to understand explicitly that there is no equality of justice in the law now, and act accordingly. As former Trump administration official Brooke Rollins wrote recently in The American Mind, all this is meant to achieve a singular goal: to use the apparatus of the law and the judiciary to utterly break American opposition to the progressive regime by installing a climate of fear so pervasive that Americans will no longer defend themselves, no longer defy leftist orthodoxy, and no longer dare to publicly disagree with the regime. The criminal trial of President Joe Biden's son Hunter on federal gun charges should also be understood in this light. As of this writing, the jury is still deliberating, and as I'm recording this, they found him guilty on all the charges, so just to mention that. It says, but it hardly matters what the verdict is. If he is acquitted, which he was not, the message is that the rule of law is a dead letter in America, and you'd better align yourself with the side that can protect you. And if he's found guilty, and he was, says the message is that America has a two-tiered justice system that makes only the most feeble attempt to disguise itself. Hunter Biden can run a complex, years-long foreign influence peddling scheme to enrich his family, and all he'll ever face are minor, unrelated gun charges, a fig leaf over the corruption that's right at the heart of the White House. Hunter has never been charged for the many financial crimes related to his time working for Ukraine energy company Burisma, never charged for operating as an unregistered foreign agent, or selling influence and government policy. Must be nice to have a dad that's, the president. Says the federal prosecutor charged with investigating Hunter allowed the statute of limitations to expire on tax evasion associated with Hunter's Burisma earnings, and then simply ignored every other crime connected to the Biden family's influence peddling scheme. The gun trial only materialized after a federal judge blew up the prosecutor's corrupt plea deal. And I remember hearing about that, but I don't recall offhand what it was. But I remember hearing that they were trying to get him like the super sweetheart deal, and the judge was like, yeah, that's not going to be a thing that happens. So let's keep going. It says the entire purpose of the trial is to provide a thin veneer of justice served, while the real crimes of the Biden family go unpunished and unacknowledged. Yeah, I fully agree with that. I always thought that. And also I think it's so that like Joe Biden can say like, yeah, the law applies with Trump and our side, in bunny ears, our side, because, my son was prosecuted, and look, he's actually a convicted, I don't know, is it felon? I don't know if he is a felon. Maybe he is. I'm again, not a lawyer, don't know, but they said this, I think it was done for that purpose too. Like, see, we do go after our side. It's like, and, the smooth brains out there are going to be like saying that, whereas people who are in the know are going to be like, yeah, these aren't the same thing, man. Let's keep going. It says, of course, this hypocrisy versus hierarchy framework extends far beyond the justice system. Corporate media this week are breathlessly reporting on remarks Justice Samuel Alito made to a left-wing documentary filmmaker who posed as a religious conservative and secretly recorded the conversation. Rolling Stone, which is not a reliable source by any stretch of the imagination, reported the story as some kind of scandal because Alito agreed that the United States should return to a place of godliness and that the battle for America can't be compromised. There's literally nothing wrong with him saying that. It says there's nothing scandalous about that. Okay, so it said what I said. It says, indeed, he simply says what leftist radicals say among themselves all the time. And going on, it says, what's notable about Alito's remarks, though, is that he goes on to say his power as a judge is limited and defined, and that there are many problems in American life that the Supreme Court can't address or fix, which he's 100% right about, though. Says the substance of what Alito said isn't the point, though. The point is that the timing of the hit piece, coming right before the end of the Supreme Court's current term and close on the heels of another fake outrage news cycle, centered on Alito's wife flying a popular historic flag from the Revolutionary War outside their beach house, which, if anyone's going to hear about that and go, oh my God, that was so bad, I'll say it's a flag that George Washington commissioned. Yes, that George Washington, as if you know any other ones. And as recently as like when this became a big deal, it was flying outside I think like City Hall in San Francisco, of all places. So what's your argument now there, leftists? Says the media's current fixation on Alito comes on after unrelenting hysterics from the media over Justice Clarence Thomas occasionally taking vacations with wealthy friends, something nearly every Supreme Court justice does. Yeah, go look into like Ruth Bader Ginsburg's records or Sotomayor's records, and trust me, it's not anywhere near as I was going to say shiny, but I meant to say pristine as Clarence Thomas's or Alito's for that matter. Says why the obsessive deranged attacks on conservative Supreme Court justices. Because the Supreme Court is one of the last institutions in America that the left doesn't control, and it's standing in their way of their revolution. Smearing and discrediting the conservative justices, demanding they recuse themselves from made-up offenses, is part of a longer-term strategy to delegitimize and ultimately destroy the court. 100% it is. That's the whole point of it. So remember that the next time you see a hit piece on a conservative Supreme Court justice, or the book being thrown at a couple or at a group of people opposed to the regime, or when Trump is actually sent to prison later this summer, it's not hypocrisy you're saying, it's hierarchy. Bunch of things in here that I've thought myself, and this is actually my first time reading this article. I just saw the headline and was like, oh, that's what it's about. I think I'm going to want to talk about that. And yeah, I agree with everything in here. I've thought about, like I said, a lot of this stuff myself, and it's just, yeah, this is what's happening right now in this country. So we can only hope that Trump gets in the office and basically does to our government what Javier Milei is doing in Argentina. And hopefully that's we'll call just a good start. But anyway, let me know what you think about this. Do you agree with the contents of the article? Do you think there is a two-tier justice system? Let me know in the comments below. Please like, share, subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.